Hey, everybody. I am so excited to be with you here today. I am Haley Gray. I'm the group owner in the Women's Entrepreneur Network. And I am so excited to have Bob Burg here to interview him today. Welcome, Bob. So happy to have you here.
Thank you, Haley. Honored to be with you.
Thank you. And for those of you that don't know, for over 30 years, Bob Burg has been successfully showing entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professionals how to communicate their value and accelerate their referral business. Although for years he was best known for his sales classic, Endless Referrals, is his business parable, The Go Giver, co authored with John David Mann, that has created a worldwide movement. And boy, has it ever. It is part of my business philosophy. While part of a 4-book series, The Go Giver itself has sold more than 1 million copies and been translated into 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on Inc. magazine's list of the most motivational books ever written and was on HubSpot's 20 most highly rated sales books of all time. Bob is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He is also an unapologetic animal fanatic and served on the board of directors of Furry Friends Adoption and Clinic in his town of Jupiter, Florida. Welcome. So happy to have you here.
Haley, it is so great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I, love your work. I am such an animal fanatic. We have rescues that you're going to see popping in and out here. It's part of our way of life here as well. So tell me what motivated this whole concept of the Go Giver.
Well, years ago, and this is back in the early to mid 90s, I had my first book come out called Endless Referrals. Subtitle was Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. And it was really a book, it was a how-to book for entrepreneurs and salespeople who they knew they had a great product or service that added immense value to the lives of their customers and clients, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable going out into their local communities and cultivating those relationships that would cause people to want to do business with them personally and or refer them to others. So Endless Referrals was really a system, if you will, for doing that. I personally define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key being predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A and continue to do A, and eventually you'll get the desired result of B with a proven system. That's what happens. So that was the system for doing that. It was based on a premise that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And that's been my mantra for 30 plus whatever years. So, but it was a how-to book, and I always enjoyed reading parables, stories that, I think we all know that, and you're a great marketer, so you know that stories connect, right? They connect with people on a level, on more of a heart level, and there's an old saying that words that come from the heart enter the heart, and I think the connection is really there. So, and I always felt that way whenever I read parables. So I thought, what if we could take the idea of that know, like, and trust and turn that into a parable, a brief fictional story that that could really connect on a on that kind of level. So in coming up with the title, that was pretty easy because it was a matter of thinking, well, what is the essence of those entrepreneurs and salespeople that are able to both quickly and sustainably create those know, like, and trust relationships? And what it comes down to is they're givers. They're always looking to give value to others, to help others succeed, right? So coming up with the Go Giver, that was pretty easy. but the best thing that I did for that book was to ask John David Mann, who was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I was writing for at the time. I was submitting monthly columns to to them, and John was the editor, and he had a reputation within that a very small specific niche of being a genius, and he was,
Mhm.
a wonderful writer. So I asked John if he would take a look at this idea that I had in a very basic kind of outline of where I thought, and he was busy at the time, but we had a know, like, and trust relationship. So he took a look at it. And actually what happened was after he took the initial look at it, he and his wife, Anna, back then his fiance, they were in Tampa, the other side of the state from me, visiting her mom. They actually took a 4-hour drive over to where I live in Jupiter. The three of us went to dinner. We talked for probably 3 or 4 hours about the book and what we saw, how it would. And about 3 weeks later, he called me to say, I think we've got something here. And that was really it. Now, we wrote the story in about 3 months, but it took a year and 25 rejections from New York publishers before we finally found our perfect publishing partner, which was Portfolio, a business book division of Penguin Random House.
And that is a testament to the value of persistence.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, really. Now, not as bad as I think Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield with Chicken Soup of the Soul. I think they got turned down 250 times or something before they sold like 500 million books. So that persistence worked out pretty well for them
Yeah.
as well, and all their fortunate readers. But yeah, I mean, I think there were a few things. It was finding someone whose strengths were much better than mine in terms of writing. John's a magnificent storyteller and writer. I'm a how-to guy. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3.
Mhm.
It was putting it together. It was being willing to listen when we received those objections.
Mhm.
Some of them were just, well, I don't think the world needs another parable, or nah, we don't really
Right.
like it, or yeah, but not our thing. Some of those, but others had some good advice that we took, and we kept an open mind about it, and we reached out to our brain trust and said, do they have something there? We wanted to make sure our egos weren't getting in the way, and that we were so we kind of took what they and basically redid the marketing plan for it within that over that course of a year. And finally it was ready for when again, the right publisher for us came along.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many like amazing details in, what you're saying here as far as like that marketing plan was inherent in your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kinda was, because the title was one that had appealed to different people, because, people could take the term "go giver," and they could kind of interpret it however they wanted to, because it could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Now, that's not always good, right? Sometimes you want
Right.
something very specific and only really to attract those who would be right. My first book, Endless Referrals, I titled that for who? A salesperson who
Mhm.
wanted a referral business, right? And so it was only going to be that. There was really no way to misinterpret the message of the book. With the Go Giver, a little bit different, but uh, which is why I'm often explaining concepts and sharing where it isn't what some people might think it is when they hear the term Go Giver, right? But that's okay too, because that's all part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's part of the charm of the whole methodology behind it.
Uh, Thank you, and I appreciate that, because I think that was something that really came to help in the marketing of the book and getting the message out there.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about the entrepreneurial spirit with go givers, but how does this apply to people who aren't necessarily entrepreneurs?
So that's a great question. So let's go back for a second, if we may, and look at really what do we mean by go giver in the first place. Okay, and then let's look at how that applies both to entrepreneurs and then to intrapreneurs, which are people working maybe within another organization as
Right.
an employee, yet with the entrepreneurial spirit that helps
Mhm.
them to provide great value. Okay, so when we say go giver, really, the premise is simply this: that shifting your focus, and I think this is really where it begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for some, nicey nice, way out there, woo woo, magical, mystical reasons either. Not at all. It's actually quite
Right.
rational when you think about it, because when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on helping others,
Mhm.
placing it on discovering what they want, what they
Right.
need, what they desire, right? When you can take your focus off of yourself, place it on helping solve their challenges and problems, helping bring them closer to happiness, people feel good about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you if directly, if that's appropriate, if they
Right.
need you off, and they definitely want to be your personal walking ambassador. Okay, so that's really the premise of the book. Then there are 5 laws that we delve into now. So let's go back to your great question. The book was written about, a salesperson, an entrepreneur, but what about someone who is an employee within a business? And that's why we say, rather than being an entrepreneur, who we think of as owning their own business, taking a risk, financial and other ways and whose ultimate customer is the end user.
Mhm.
Okay, the entrepreneur. Um, well, their customer may be their supervisor or employer or the people
Mhm.
they lead or that person in that other silo who usually doesn't help out and share information, but because of
Yeah.
the way you're able to utilize your great people skills and the reputation you earn for helping others and the value you right, it allows you to actually make yourself invaluable to the organization within which you're working.
Yeah.
And so that's so here's the thing. Here's, in a sense, the little bit of the difference, which is really more similar than not. I'll often say to salespeople and entrepreneurs, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, right? Nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money.
Right.
And they're not really even going to buy from you just because you're a nice person. They're
Mhm.
gonna buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And in a free market-based economy, which we live in, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone
Mhm.
else. They do so on their own volition. In that type of economy, that's the only reason why anyone should buy from you or from me or from anyone else. They feel they'll be better off. Well, okay, as an entrepreneur, as an employee, your employer is not going to hire you, keep you on, and continue to give you a paycheck because you have a mortgage payment to meet or a rent
Mhm.
payment or because you need the money or because your kid needs braces or because you want to send them to the school you want, right? They're,
Absolutely.
right. They're going to do it because you provide sufficient value to the organization that makes it worthwhile for them to pay you the money they're paying. So in both cases, we have to look at how we can take our focus off ourselves, move from an I focus or me focus to an other focus and continually provide value to others.
How do you suggest that people get out of that headspace of the me, me, me focus? Because I see it a lot of times in Women's Entrepreneur Network in my group where people are frantic to get increased sales and shift that focus instead of off myself of I've got to make my next rent payment to okay, I'm here to serve and help.
Okay, so if it's not something that comes to a person naturally, and it doesn't in many cases, because as human beings, we are self-interested,
Mhm.
right? That's how our cave person ancestors survived by, doing what they had to make it through the day. And so we are self-interested as human beings, and we're not suggesting anyone deny that, because to deny that is to deny human nature. So the
Mhm.
first, and that's not very sustainable. So the first thing I'd say is it's important for this person to understand why it's actually in their best interest to take the focus off themselves and place it on others. And it
Mhm.
goes right back to other people aren't going to do things for your reasons. They're going to do it for their reasons. So to the degree that you can take your focus off yourself
Mhm.
and place it on making their lives better, right?
Mhm.
That's the degree they are going to look to give value to you. So if you want to look
Yeah.
at it just in terms of utilitarian purposes, fine. But what's going to happen is this. You're going to find that not only is doing so much more effective, okay?
Mhm.
It actually feels great. Because as human beings, I also think it's human nature to want to be a part of something, to want to
Yeah.
add value to others, to want to know we're making a contribution, to know that we make other people's lives better just by being part of it. That's also human nature. The good news is you can do that and also be very, very abundant. In fact, again, to the degree that people don't have to do business with you, what's called a free market, it's the only way you can do well.
Mhm.
You've got to provide value to them sufficient for them to exchange their money for that value, in essence. Now, you
Yeah.
start out by providing value in ways that aren't even your product or services. You start to build a relationship with them. The value you're giving them is your interest in them,
Mhm.
right? But it ends up being that eventually there's going to be an exchange of value for value exchange. And so but that's only going to happen because let's put it this way. This is why John and I say that money is simply an echo of value, right? Money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, which means nothing more than the value must be your focus. The value that you're providing others must be your focus. The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's interesting to me that it's back to your original book. This is really in some ways it's kind of a formula.
Mhm.
Input in, value provided out. In equals referrals provided out.
Yeah.
Clients. And it's a really kind of fascinating ecosystem to me.
I
Um, and it's entirely predictable. So
Mhm.
um, one of the things it just amazes me how people sometimes are so short-sighted with their sales because they're so driven by a quota and they're so driven by the numbers. Whereas I think sometimes if you flip the numbers a little bit and you're driven by the how many relationships can I build, how many people can I connect with, how many referrals can I generate, that starts to flip the whole equation on its head a bit.
Yeah, really the only thing we can ever control are our actions, our thoughts and actions. And so if and it's okay, if you're given a quota or if it's great to have goals and to know
Mhm.
what we're never
Oh,
saying,
totally.
yeah, not to, right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just that, goals are great. Why? Because they give us a direction to go to,
Right.
right? If you know that if the goal is X hundreds of thousands of dollars, what do you need to do to get that? Well, you need to present to X number of people. To do that, what do you need to do? Contact X number of people because not everybody's going to agree to do that. What do you have to do? You need to write, and so you work backwards from the goal. All that's fine. Just understand that nobody's going to buy from you because of your goal.
Mhm.
Right. And so, as long as we know that, now as long as then we can know what actions to take to help us to reasonably expect that we're going to get the results that we are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the 5 laws that you and John share in the book.
Yeah, so those are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And the law of value says your true worth, in the business sense, of course, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. That sounds kind of productive counterintuitive when you first hear it. Like give more in value than I take in payment. That kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy when you first hear it. But we have to just simply understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure, a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly, again, free market, willingly exchange their money for it and be ecstatic that they did. A
Hmm.
very quick example would be the accountant who you hire to do your taxes, and we'll just name a round figure. She charges you $1,000 to do your taxes. That is her fee, or literally her price, $1,000. But what
Hmm.
value does she give you in exchange? Well, through her years of study, or hard work, her desire to get to know you and your business and discover your needs, wants, desires, your strengths, your weaknesses,
Hmm.
all the different aspect, right? She's able to
Yeah.
save you $5,000 on your taxes. She also saves you countless hours of time, which frees you up to do what you'd rather be doing and can be more productively doing. She also provides you with the peace of mind and security in knowing it was done correctly. So, what we see is that while she gave you that while she charged you $1,000 as a price, she gave you well over $5,000 in actual value, right?
Hmm.
So you feel great about it. And of course, she also made a very healthy profit because it was worth it to her to lease out her time, her knowledge, her wisdom, her energy, what have you, for this $1,000. And in fact, in any free market based exchange,
Right.
there are always two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. That's basically the law of value. Now, the law of compensation, law number two, this kind of takes it a step further. It says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So, where law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number two tells us that the more people whose lives we touch with the exceptional value we provide, the more money with which we'll be rewarded. Your accountant in the first example did a great job of giving you more in value than she took in payment. Chances are you feel great about her, you would use her again, and you would refer her to others. Well, her other
Right.
clients feel the same way, right? So our accountant is amassing what we call an army of personal walking ambassadors. And as she continues to add that kind of exceptional value to the lives of more and more people, her income will continue to grow and grow. We can take those first two laws, right, and say exceptional value plus significant reach equals very high compensation.
Hmm.
Now, law number three, the law of influence, says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Again, counterintuitive, maybe counterproductive sounding, or Pollyanna-ish sounding,
Hmm.
but it's really not, because as we all know, the greatest leaders, the top influencers, the most sustainably successful top producing salespeople, this
Yep.
is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for the other person's interest. Now, just to qualify the statement, when we say place the other person's interests first, we're not saying you should ever be anybody's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not. It's
Hmm.
simply Joe, the protege, learned from several of the mentors. Uh, the golden rule of business, of sales, what have you, as we discussed earlier, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely, right?
Hmm.
Genuinely moving from an I or me focus to that other focus. Or as one of the mentors told Joe, Sam, one of the mentors told Joe, make your win all about the
Hmm.
other person's win.
Yeah.
Law number four is the law of authenticity. And this says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In this chapter, Deborah Davenport was the mentor in this part. because remember, there were different mentors, within the story. So Deborah shared a lesson, very important lesson that she had learned, and that is all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all very, very important,
Mhm.
they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you, as we like to say, show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel
Yeah.
safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting, right? And that consistency is such an important, important element of trust. We have a desire that again goes back to the cave person days for consistency in our world. Okay. Uh, when people don't show up authentically, often it's not because they have malintent, but rather they don't have the self-confidence to show up authentically. They
Mhm.
don't recognize their value, right? And I think there are two types of value. I think there's intrinsic value, which
Mhm.
is just by being human, we bring value to the table. But there's also what I call market value. And I define market value as that combination of strengths, traits, talents, and characteristics that allow a person to bring value to the marketplace, bring work to the marketplace in such a way that they will be financially rewarded. The challenge with this is that because we're human beings, it can be so difficult to recognize that special thing we have about us, that immense value, that greatness that we have, right? Because we know us from all our lives, right? And we also know what we know and what we do. And, if we can do it, well, everybody can do it, right? So we don't value ourselves. And that's why you have people not charging enough money for what they do. And they'll too easily drop their price.
Mhm.
They'll sell on low price rather than high value. And that's why it's so important to have someone, a coach, a mentor, someone like yourself who can help someone recognize that value they bring to the table so that they have the confidence to lead with that value
Mhm.
and and sell better, negotiate
Yeah.
better, uh, uh, receive the higher price, higher fees because you're creating greater value and you're able to communicate that value.
Yeah.
Authenticity, so very important. It's really, what does authenticity mean? It means we're acting congruently with our values.
Yeah.
Okay. Law number 5 is what I think kind of brings it home, brings it together. And this is the law of receptivity. And the law of receptivity says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This really means nothing more than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, but you've also got to breathe in. It's not one or the other, it's both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving, right? And the thing is, um, the world around us gives us these horribly negative messages about money, about business, about prosperity, about
Mhm.
abundance. My goodness, if you just, read the news or go online or listen to people talking or the school system or wherever it happens to be, it's, people with money are evil and horrible. And, go to a movie and there's always, like those two types of people. There are the good people who are poor. My friend Randy Gage is a great speaker on prosperity, speaks about this. Every movie you go to, there's the good people who are poor and they're always poor but happy, right? But because being poor is good, it's righteous, right? And they're always being taken advantage of by who? The rich person who's always mean and horrible and cowardly and nasty and right. I mean, you see this all the time. Horrible messages. Um, and so what happens is we can, that gets into the unconscious, and that can really keep us from realizing the abundance that is our birthright and that we've earned through adding value to the lives of others. So, what we say is giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work together in tandem. Now, we know that again, the laws of life say that you give before you receive. We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive, and that's fine. What we need to do is allow ourselves to receive those blessings that we have earned. Um, and when we do that, now we come at life from a place of prosperity. I'll just say one thing about this. I think this is so important that I think it needs to be studied and studied every day, because all the
Mhm.
garbage, all the lack thinking and the lack writing and it's around us. We get it all the time. So we need to proactively put this stuff in our head. So I recommend people like Randy Gage, people like Sharon Lechter, people like Ellen Rogan, people like David Nagel, people like Ken Honda, people like Bob Proctor. These are people who they write, they speak, they blog, they do videos, they do write on prosperity. And 99% of what they talk about is the mental game. And that's releasing all those yucky things, right? Those yucky beliefs that keep us from enjoying the
Yeah.
prosperity that again is our birthright.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love this so much. So tell me a little bit about this Go Giver Success Alliance of yours.
Yeah, well, this is an online membership community, though we call it a mentorship community because we all mentor each other, right? I'm kind of the guide, if you will, or the host, but my business partner Kathy Tagenel and I. But really, it's everybody. It's a group of very successful entrepreneurs, salespeople, leaders, and we get together every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern time for a Zoom meeting. And the conversation is just amazing. The thinking that goes on, the critical thinking, the problem solving when someone has an issue in their business, which, of course, if they're having that issue, a lot of people are having that issue, right? And so it's always so helpful. But really, it's all of us together. We meet, we strategize, we collaborate, we mainly build these wonderful relationships with each other. There's a lot of giving and there's a lot of receiving. It's very prosperity based. And then aside from the one Zoom thing, throughout the week or the 5 days of the week, there's always sort of a question or a challenge for the day, and there's all sorts of back and forth. So as long as someone has a smartphone, they can actually be connected with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it is
That's
just,
pretty impressive.
yeah. There's like an X factor to it that is kind of indescribable, and yet when people are
Mhm.
there with us, it's like, wow, this is really something special. And I think it's because you've got all these successful people getting together, all with a go-giver focus, looking to provide immense value to others. And so it always comes back to them as well.
That's pretty wonderful. That's
Thank you.
the best. I love it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so inspiring. It's
Oh,
truly an honor
well, like I
and a
said, the
blessing.
honor is mine. I love the work you're doing, and I love that you got those fur babies that you're taking care of, and you've got such a great heart and soul.
Well, thank you so much. And y'all check out the Go Giver Success Alliance. And your other website is www.burg.com. So check them out. Thanks, guys.